what you thought you knew from the shed of dreams, the Leake in review.
Jonathan Simkin, it's good to see you. I understand you weren't feeling well.
I have been so fucking sick for, I actually, funny enough, I was just telling my assistant, I think I'm finally better. Like today's the first day I don't have a stomach ache in 3 weeks. Some weird flu going around, at least in Vancouver. It's a weird stomach flu, and it just lingers and lingers and lingers. I was starting to worry it was going to turn into The Last of Us. Maybe it was some fungus I was going to start to, turn.
I have a buddy who's going through this himself, where he just can't shake it. He says, at first it was the stomach, but now he just has the cough that will not go away, and all it does is give him the headaches. And he never gets headaches. So something's going on, but I'm glad to hear you're feeling better.
But I will say this, and it's probably not where you want to go on the podcast, but, I did have one interesting experience from this flu, something that has never happened to me before in my life. I stepped in my own shit.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm happy to tell the story, but you might not want to hear the story.
I would love to hear the story. I imagine, can I guess? Can I speculate on how you did it?
Go.
It's your evening trapeze class. You dismount. I'm guessing it's a bathroom related where you just kind of made it, but didn't kind of make it. And
okay, I'll make the story real quick. So this flu came on out of the blue. Like I was feeling fine. And then one night, literally, so I'm driving back to the office at night, I work at night, and I get to the office and I'm like, as soon as I pulled up, I'm like, oh my God, my stomach. Like I could feel it's just like, I was like, Jesus Christ, what? Am I going to have diarrhea? Like what's going on? And it was one of those things where I somehow got to my office. I parked next to the office. I get out of the car and I'm walking like I'm 90 years old because the slightest relaxation of my muscles and I'm in trouble.
You are in clench mode.
Total clench mode. I get into the front door and right as I step through the door, I felt the surge of something warm in my. So I get to the bathroom. I pull my pants down. I sit on the toilet. I do my job. And then I'm like, well, Jesus, I better look at my underwear to see what's going on. So I look at the underwear. I'm like, oh God, sharded right in the underwear. So we have a sound stage in our building. So I take my underwear, and nobody was around. It was 9 at night. I go in there. And I got shit on my jeans too. So I take my jeans. I take my underwear. I go to the sound stage. We have a paint sink there. I figure I'm not going to wash this in the kitchen where people are eating. Like that's gross. So I go to the paint sink. I wash it out. It's soaking wet. I hang it up. I have a pair of shorts in my office, so great. At least I have a pair of shorts. I come back up. I do some work. I'm not feeling well, but I'm like, fuck it, I might as well work. At some point, I had to go back downstairs. And I cleaned up the shit that was on the floor. I had to go back downstairs to just take a piss or something. And I'm like, why does it still smell like shit? Shit, I don't know what's going on. And then it happens. I step on something and go, oh no. And I was in my socks, right? So I'm wearing these shorts. I'm wearing socks. And I step in it, and then I look at the bottom of my foot, and I'm like, gee. So back to the paint sink, this time with the socks, washing this. The worst part of it was, I do those rent-a-cars, so you look at the app to see where the closest car is. So, and, I'm in the downtown east side, which is, it's a little, at night especially, it's a little scary. So,
entertaining.
So I'm like, oh, God, the closest Evo's on the other side of Hastings. I'm going to have to walk for 6 minutes. And here's the thing. I've lost a lot of weight. So the shorts I had don't even fit. So here I am. I've got these shorts that I have to hold while I'm walking so they don't fall off. No underwear. I've got a plastic bag with my shit-covered clothes. And I have to walk 6 blocks or 6 minutes to get to this rental car. The funny thing is, in this neighborhood, I think I really fit in for the first time.
The one time you can feel safe.
Like people were waving at me. Hey, bud, I got my shit covered clothes in here too. Hey, how you doing?
Did you try today's soup? It was great.
That's right. Anyway, there's my story. I stepped in my own shit. It is different than stepping in dog shit. Better in some ways, worse in some ways. I've added it to my life experience, and I can move on now.
Jonathan Simkin, 604 Records,
Yep.
a record label that was created in early 2000s, 2002, I think it was you and Chad Kroeger who decided, let's start a record label for some bizarro reason. In a time where there was such transition with record labels at that time that nobody even knew where it was going to land. The digital service providers were non-existent. There was no agreements with collectives on how bands were going to receive money yet. It was all developing very fast. But you guys decided to take it into your own hands for some reason. And what were those reasons for you guys at that time?
Yeah, it's a long time ago, and it's funny. We there's disagreement about when we say the label started because the company that was incorporated, that is to this day 604 Records, was actually incorporated in 2001 for slightly different reasons, but our first release was 2002. Yeah, good question. I've always been somebody who reacts, I think, well to things. My career has been a reactive one as opposed to a proactive one. And by that I mean I'll see an opportunity or something will happen, and I'll see it as an opportunity, whereas maybe some other people wouldn't see the opportunity.
They might even
And
see it as the sky is falling.
well, it hadn't quite started falling yet because I think Napster happened maybe a year after we started the label. Um, and there was the download store. The download store had just sort of started at that point. So there were downloads, no streaming for many years. But basically Chad and I um had already been working on things that were relevant. The experiences we were having were relevant to starting the label. What I mean by that is, Nickelback at that point. Remember, this is before How You Remind Me, so they're starting to get known, but they're not a household name at that point. And they would go on tour, especially that first Roadrunner record. They went on tour essentially for 2 years. That was Roadrunner's formula. You go out on the road, you stay out on the road. That's how we sell records.
It's in the name.
That's right, exactly. So they go out for lengthy period, and then they come home. Well, the other three guys all kind of disappeared into their domestic lives. The last thing on their mind was music when they've been touring for a year. But Chad was different. He always was. To him, vacation was producing other bands. And I was his lawyer, so I would get the phone call. Hey, buddy, just sign this, or just working with this band called, whatever. Can you do up some quick paper? If they get signed, I get, a piece of the advance, whatever it was. And one of those bands was called Shock the Day. And as usual, nothing happened. Because, I mean, other than Nickelback, nothing we worked on ever seemed to really work back then. But Chad called me one night and said, hey, buddy, remember Shock the Day? I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. I said, well, they changed their name. They're called Default now. And they got a new singer, and I hear he's real good looking. Isn't it funny that you remember the stupidest shit from phone calls from 25 years ago? Here he's good looking. They're playing at Studebaker's tonight, which I don't know if you remember Studebaker's.
Is that in like Langley?
Shithole Supreme in Burnaby.
Burnaby, yeah.
He's like, you wanna come? You wanna go check them out with me? Yeah, why not? So we go, and they were so good. That was Dallas Smith's first time performing in front of an audience ever. He was so nervous. He was facing the back of the stage. He couldn't bear
Jim Morrison.
And I'm not kidding. He faced the back. And other than that little quirk, they were great. He sang beautifully. The songs were good. And Chad's like, what do you think? I said, I think they're amazing. He's like, let's go talk to them. So we went and we talked to them, and we made them an offer and said, give us a year to get you a deal. If we get you a deal, we get, I don't know,
X.
25% of your advance or whatever. And if we don't get you a deal, we shake hands and, we'll go into the studio, we'll make a few songs, and we'll shop them. They said yes. That experience was so good for me in so many ways, both in terms of my career as a manager and in terms of my career as a label owner, because I learned so much from that experience. We spent a good 8 to 10 months just developing them, working on the show. I remember being in Pacific Center Mall with them and my wife, shopping with them, like trying to, it was like rock star school. We were just trying to help them we showcased them. We made some songs, we shopped it, we showcased them, and I'll be damned, they got a deal with TVT. And that was the first time outside of Nickelback that Chad and I did something that worked. And that got my brain whizzing. Oh man, if we had done that differently, we could have made more money. If we had done that differently, we could have done this, we could have done that. Don't forget, I was pretty inexperienced still at that point because I had been a poverty lawyer. I wasn't an entertainment lawyer till well into my career. I didn't even take copyright in law school, so I didn't know jack shit about anything to do with this. And that success really got me thinking. And so fast forward a year later, maybe, and still know how you remind me. It was close to that time, but we meet Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man at a house party. And I guess he had heard a rumor we were going to be there, so he had brought a couple of cassettes, which I still have my demo cassette from Tyler Connolly. And we listened to it, and I remember Chad called me and said, "Did you listen to that demo?" I said, "Yeah." "Did you?" He said, "Yeah." Like, "What'd you think?" I said, "I think it's really good. Like, kind of reminds me of CCR. Like, I like it." And he's like, "Yeah, I like it too." He's like, "We should do like we did with Default." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. This time we're going to do it a little bit differently." We incorporated the company and we signed Theory of a Dead Man to a production deal. It wasn't a record deal. That wasn't the idea. It was just a production deal. Um, we make some demos, and I'm in LA with the band Lilyx, if you remember them.
Absolutely.
One of the first bands I managed, and I'm shopping these demos. And I'm at Atlantic Records, and the A&R guy was Tom Storms. And at this point, still, some people knew who Nickelback was, but again, they were not a household name. They had had one hit in the States, Leader of Men, which maybe went top 20 on rock. So, I mean, it did well, but it wasn't, wasn't huge. And Tom Storms was like, "Yeah, I like Nickelback, man." Some people I was shopping into didn't even know who Nickelback was. But I mean, he's like, "Yeah, man, I think this is good." And he called me the next day and he's like, "Dude, going into an A&R meeting. Just so I'm clear, are you shopping Theory of a Dead Man or are you shopping your label?" Well, I'd never even thought about it like that. To me, it was just a production company. And it was like the world came to a slow down. It was like slow motion. Label. It was like alphabet soup. I could see the letters coming out of my mouth. Label. And he said, "Okay, dude, cool. I'll call you the next couple of days." I called Chad, who, again, weird what you can remember all these years later. He was in Kentucky, of all places, doing a show. And I said, "Hey, man, I think I just started a bidding war on our label." And I'll never forget what Chad said. "What label?" And I said, forget it. And that started I think a month later, the Default song comes out, immediate hit, Wasting My Time, giant hit. Then, I remind me, then Hero and Spider-Man. And all of a sudden, our non-existent label was everybody wanted our label. And as soon as this is right when 9/11 happened too, because I remember we couldn't get to New York because the planes were grounded. And as soon as planes were able to fly again, we go to New York. And dude, like it was crazy. We met with Clive Davis, we met with L.A. Reid, we met with, I mean, you name it. Everybody wanted to sign this label that didn't exist. And
That's how big How You Remind Me was. It was opening doors.
correct. That's what I mean about seeing an opportunity. And sort of going, shit, I think there's something. Now, I didn't think it all the way through. Like, oh God, I guess that means I'd be running a label. What about my law practice? What about everything? But, sometimes you just got to go for it if you feel that in the moment. And I felt it in the moment. And next thing I know, Chad and I are negotiating a deal with Leor Cohen, who was the head of Island Def Jam, and Case Wessels, the head of Roadrunner. We did it in the Pierre Hotel overlooking Central Park, over like a 10-hour negotiation day on a Sunday. We had breakfast in this fancy hotel. Then we went up to a suite that they rented, which had a conference room and two adjoining separate rooms. So we would negotiate for a while, then we would break into our separate rooms. Chad and I didn't know what the fuck we were. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Like the whole thing's so crazy and surreal looking back on it. But by the end of the day, we had a deal hammered out on a napkin, and we had to get to some dinner, some Roadrunner dinner that night. And we're in a limousine in Manhattan, and silence in a limousine, silence. And one of us says to the other, "What the fuck just happened?" And then we're like, we're rich, we're rich, we're rich. And we're hugging each other. Now, number one, we weren't rich, just to be clear. But for two guys who didn't come from money, um, it was a hell of a thing. And
Unbelievable.
yeah, so that's the story. I mean, that's the,
You know,
yeah.
what a great partnership too, because Chad's got this drive, this motor to constantly produce, constantly record. He's not going to sit back and just chill. He's got to be doing, right? He's the fish in the water where it stops moving, that's it. It's over. And then they've got you, the newly classic litigator in the music industry, who is going to read the doc and go, wait a minute. We're not a shot at people in the music industry as artists. They're not going to read it with the attention to detail as you do, because that's your thing. So what a perfect partnership. So you release this.
It's been a good partnership over the years. I mean, it really has. And listen, like any partner, sometimes we fight, sometimes we have disagreements, sometimes we're mad at each other. But for the most part, I have to say, it's really been a solid relationship. Plus I've been the band's lawyer now for, Jesus, 31 years. Chad just recently turned 50. He was 19 when we started.
Just watched the documentary,
Oh,
Nickelback documentary today. I have
was right
such
at the same desk. My thing was filmed right here.
And for people who are not able to see what Jonathan's desk looks like or has not seen the Nickelback documentary, you definitely look like you have a lawyer's desk that is for family law, paper everywhere.
Yep.
You keep it lawyerese for sure. It's not like the lawyer dramas that are on TV midweek. A little bit different than Suits.
It smells a little different too.
You go from music, and there's lots of bands who have sold millions with 604 Records and with your help, and that's been incredible. But then you started branching off in the building that you're in, and I don't remember, did you buy that building early 2000 at the same time that you were starting?
No, I didn't have the money.
That was 2010?
Even later. I had always had the idea, not always, but first distribution deal we did was with Randy Lennox for Canada. For the rest of the world, we were with Roadrunner Island Def Jam. In Canada, we did a deal with Randy because part of our deal with Roadrunner was that we excluded Canada. It's like, I need to own Canada. Like, we're not, that's us. That's our domain. And they agreed, kindly agreed, which was great. So we had to still figure out our situation in Canada. The first deal we did was with Randy Lennox at Universal. Love Randy, but that was a difficult negotiation in some ways because I refused to give up digital rights. And in fact, for years, we were the only label who didn't give up digital rights in the Universal system because I didn't understand why I should. I think this is where not coming from the music business helped me because I didn't give a shit how things were usually done. I didn't give a shit like, oh, it's not standard for. If anybody ever said to me it's standard practice, to me that was like a challenge to sort of go, oh yeah, well watch me do it in the non-standard way and beat your ass.
At a time when there's such flux in music as well. So standard practice. Do you understand that this ship is going in a direction that no one has charted yet? Nobody knows where it's going, yet you're still going to ask you to use the same rules and regulations. It's like, what rules do we follow now?
I don't even think I had enough knowledge to even look at it that way. To me, it was always just my own sense of common sense. And like, so I remember saying to Randy, he was like, I was like, Randy, why would I pay you whatever it was, 20% to distribute me digitally? I don't even know what that means. Like, I can upload stuff to iTunes just as easily as you guys can. Why would I pay you to do something I could do for myself? Like, well, all the labels give us digital distribution. I said, okay, that's not an argument. I'm here to be convinced. Convince me. Well, we can get you prominent placement on the iTunes store. I was like, really? I'll tell you what, for 20%, I'll take my chance. And so we've always kind of done stuff. I've always just been guided by my own sense of common sense and intuition about what makes sense. Now, what was the question you asked me that I was answering?
Well, I'm talking about the building because you created
Oh,
this
the building.
the building itself where it was a spot where bands were going to come rehearse. Bands were being set up to do live streams and just kind of an open spot for business with your music community.
Okay, now I remember why that story is relevant to this question. The reason it's relevant is I very, very early on realized that in the music business, there's a lot of unnecessary middle who insert themselves into situations just because they can. And I mostly talk about major labels.
And they charge you.
And they charge you. And on some level, I'm going to be careful of how I phrase this, it's not unlike mafia protection money. You're paying it because you have to, not because it makes sense, not because somebody deserves to get paid, because you're given no choice. And there's a lot of that in the music business. And that bothered me right from day one. This building is very much an offshoot of that. I saw a documentary about Motown many years ago that stuck with me. And there's this clip with Barry Gordy, and it's like probably 1965, and they're right at their peak. It's old black and white footage. And the interviewer says, wow, it's like a complicated building. He said, well, it's not that complicated. We make the music back there and we sell it out there. That really stuck with me. To have control over the entire process without any bullshit middle people, in there taking money for no good reason. This building was very much about that. I made a note to self. One day we need to be in control of the means of production, and that's what this building's about. So I started saving money for a building. God, I don't know, 2005. But Vancouver's expensive, and it took forever. And then Call Me Maybe happened, and that's when I had the money. Call Me Maybe happened. So we would have bought the building probably 2013. Call Me Maybe happens, and it's like, oh shit, I can actually do this. And so we found this building. We created, I guess, what you would call a content hub. And I'm kind of, I guess, flattered by the fact that everybody's kind of copied us now. Everybody's got their own studio now. Everybody's got their own, and I'm sure I was not the first person to do it. In fact, I know I wasn't. But it's interesting that I sort of saw the value of that then, and so we have a soundstage, full size soundstage. We do music videos here. We have a regular comedy show. We do right in the building.
Comedy here often.
Comedy here often. Last Friday of every month, we pack the place out. They sell out those shows,
And they look great. They look and sound
they
great.
look great. And that's where we make money on the comedy stuff. We make it from Sound Exchange, and we make it from like all the clips we do. And but we also rent it out to third parties. And we have a full recording studio here, which includes the famous Little Mountain SSL console, where "Living on a Prayer" by Bon Jovi was recorded, and all the Aerosmith albums from the '90s, and Metallica, and I mean, it's a full creative hub.
Didn't Josh Ramsey of Mariana's Trench's father work at Little Mountain?
Kind of him and his partners kind of started Little Mountain, but it was different. It was because they were a jingle company. They made jingles for television and for advertising. In fact, Josh's dad, rest in peace, Miles, great guy. He wrote dum 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 the A&W theme, and I guess they used to do demos when they were sort of pitching. So, some company would come to them and say, hey, we need a theme song for whatever. And, they would create little demos. And they did that for Chevron for some ad. And Chevron didn't accept the song that they wrote, but they loved Miles. They loved him in the ad, in the demo ad. And so they said, look, we don't like the song that much. We love you. Do you want to be the Chevron guy? And so for years, the guy in those commercials, the Chevron guy, that's Josh Ramsey's dad.
He's the town pump.
He's that guy. And first time I saw Mariana's perform was at a club in Vancouver. You might remember it, the Purple Onion.
Absolutely.
And it was in Gastown. And, I went to see them play. I'd been talking to them, and I'd been, sort of going back and forth with Josh for a couple of years at that point. And so I go to see them play, and, maybe 30 people in the audience. I don't know. And Josh's dad came. And when his dad walked in, the entire audience was like, the Chevron guy. Nobody cared about the band. It was everybody was like, oh my God, the Chevron guy's here. Yeah, that's Josh. Josh comes by it honestly. Both his parents were in the business. Both his parents were very, very talented in the music.
Jonathan Simkin, there's so much more to cover, but we don't have any more time today because you've got to get back to recuperating. 1, 2, I also want you to look in at that Hells Angels house that is up for sale right now on, is it Georgia? On Georgia Street for
It's
one
not
point.
that far from my office. It's actually not that far from my office. I made a little mental note. I'm going to go look at it just because I was curious. $
1.5 million, close to Stanley Park, and probably going to sell for about $4 million. There's no way it's going to.
Is that true? Is that what people are saying?
That's my speculation. But if you do go, please let me know if it smells like bleach. I have a feeling there's a lot of bleach smell in a former Hells Angels clubhouse.
Might be some formaldehyde as well. But I was going to tell the real estate agent, like, look, I need to know, was anybody murdered in this house?
Because they have to disclose it.
And if they say no, I'm like, I'm out. I want a house where somebody died in, or else I'm out, man. That's my dream.
That's my dream. Jonathan Simkin, may all your dreams come true. 604 Records. 604 Records, you can find them online, and Comedy Here Often, something that we'll talk more about next time. Maybe we'll make it all about Comedy Here Often next time, because when I got into the comedy world, I could not believe how unregulated, unmanaged, unprofessional it was. And man, what a change technology has made for all these comics in the last decade. And it's only been the last decade where a big change has come around.
Yeah,
so.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the fact that I feel like we contributed to the infrastructure in the country, kind of getting a little more solid. Because that was the thing that struck me. Why are these comics not promoting themselves? Why is there no marketing going on of these records? And funny enough, I flew out to Sirius XM before I officially made the decision. I sat down with Ben Miner and Joe Fistel, and I'll never forget. I said, "Look, thank you for taking the meeting." I was like, I want to get into the comedy business. I want to start putting some real money into promoting these comics. I remember they both looked at me kind of like, "Why? Why would you do that?" I don't know. I got a gut feeling. I don't know. That's the same reason I always do shit, just because it seems like it might be a good idea.
Reactionary, and it's helping out not only a community, but it's helping out a community. It's helping the livelihoods of many comics. But I want to talk more about that next time we chat. In the meantime, get better. Watch out for all the human shit in your office.
I will.
It's every once in a while it gets on your sock. And congrats to the successes. And I look forward to chatting with you again real soon.
All right. Thanks. It was fun, man. We'll do it again.
Toodaloo.
See you later.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the shed.